It was targeted because it is an identified headquarters for a large group of Christians. Interestingly, the prophecy of the popes tells us that there will be only one more pope. The final pope will arrive in 2012 according to the following article, revealed. The 60-year-old Jesuit Codex predicting the arrival of Petrus Romanus in 2012. Petrus Romanus, the final pope, is here. This video explains that the final pope is almost here. Also, that there will be the destruction of Rome. You will be blessed if you heed the warning of the fifth seal, flee Europe. It is also the catalyst for the opening of the sixth seal. Daniel 7:20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Daniel 7:21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them. I have argued earlier that the little horn is probably Iran. Now we see that it makes war against the saints. Except, war really means warfare, nuclear warfare. First, it is nuclear terrorism on an EU city, and shortly later it is a full-on nuclear attack on the entire EU. This little horn, Iran, brings down the saints and the EU. 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. 13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. 14. And the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. 15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. 16. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. 17. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? If nuclear terrorism did hit Rome, then an investigation would take place. This investigation would lead to the top candidate, Iran. Retaliation on Iran or threats of retaliation would probably be forthcoming. Either Europe or Iran would start this war, but the end result would be the same. Both are wiped out and hundreds of millions are dead. The seal points out that the heavens departed like a scroll. The scroll was rolled together, then it was opened. This seems to suggest an early eyewitness to a nuclear mushroom cloud. With the American empire fallen, and the European empire fallen, then it is time for the rise of the final empire. Update June 12, 2015. Could Tehran be the mystery Babylon mentioned in Revelation? Seal 7. The opening of the seventh seal is different from the rest. We are explicitly warned that the violent part will be delayed for a short time. Some important event occurs announcing the arrival of a new empire, but it will not be violent. This is your warning that a massive nuclear war is coming soon. 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. We are required to wait until Ref. 8:5 to encounter the massive nuclear war. 5. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth, and there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. 6. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. The final empire emerges. The entire world will know about this. We are told to wait a short period before a major nuclear war occurs. You will be blessed if you can't flee to safety when you see the final empire emerge. King James Version, Revelation chapter 6:1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see. 2. And I saw, and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering, and to conquer. 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. 6 And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. 7 And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. 8 And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. 9 And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held. 10 And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? 11 And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them, that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren, that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. 12 And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. 13 And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. 14 And the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. 15 And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. 16 And said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. 17 For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? King James Version, Revelation chapter 8 1 And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. 2 And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. 3 And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. 4 And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. 5 And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth, and there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. 6 And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. 7 The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. Is Isaiah 18 about the U.S.? By Bob Westbrook, revised April 19, 2005. I've been asked more than once if there is any mention of the United States in the prophetic writings of the Bible. While I cannot be certain of this, I believe that a strong circumstantial case can be made that Isaiah 18 is describing the U.S. I have heard others indicate this as well, and have long had a suspicion that they may be correct. It is only recently that I have examined this short chapter of 7 verses in detail. The broader context of Isaiah 14 to 17 contains some scenes that may take place in the relatively near future, and the following the chapter 19 also contains prophecies not yet fulfilled. Given this context, and the indication that chapter 18 has never been historically fulfilled in any significant manner, I believe Isaiah 18 warrants some serious consideration, especially if it is indeed speaking of the United States. This chapter is strangely compelling to me, and the Spirit has put a heaviness in my heart concerning it. It is a message of woe to the nation it addresses, but also describes a very favorable role for them in the final verse. The identification of the nation in this chapter is found in verses 1, 2, and 7, and contains a number of detailed specifications. Several different Bible translations will be used here. As we examine the specifics, it will become clear that no modern nation fits the description as closely as does the United States, and no ancient nation fulfilled the prophecy. First, it is a nation of whirring wings where the sound of wings is heard, or the land of clamorous wings. Given that the military prominence of this nation figures largely later on, we might assume that this is a reference to the sounds of jets and helicopters. No other nation has the fearsome air power of the U.S. Next, it is a nation that lies beyond the rivers of Cush. This is an area that roughly corresponds to Sudan in Africa. but notice it does not say it is Cush itself, but beyond there. Obviously, in those days, central northern Africa would have seemed like the ends of the earth. So if Isaiah were trying to convey the idea of a land far, far away from where he was, wouldn't he probably say it's beyond the farthest area with which he was familiar? Therefore, this prophecy is not about Ethiopia or Sudan or that region, but a nation beyond there. This nation in question sends envoys, ambassadors over the seas, shipping emissaries all over the world. What nation is currently known for sending envoys overseas? The United States. With what political situation are the U.S. diplomats and envoys most involved to an extraordinary degree? It is the Middle East conflict. This corresponds to some crucial details later on in the chapter. Also, envoys over the seas is another indicator that the prophet was not speaking of an area in Central Africa, which does not have access to oceans. To further qualify the nation being addressed, Isaiah then describes its people, its geography, and its power. The people are described as tall and smooth-skinned. Handsome and bronzed are words used in other translations. What image do other parts of the world have of the appearance of Americans, especially from American TV shows piped all over the world? Tall, attractive, smooth-skinned people. The geography of the land these people live in is a land divided by rivers. That also describes the U.S. Finally, the military and political might of the nation to which Isaiah is prophesying are described. A people inspiring awe throughout their history, the nation that inspired awe since it came into being, a strong nation, crushing down its haters, feared all over the world, a mighty and masterful nation, strong and victorious. Could these be describing the world's sole superpower? But to me, the clincher regarding the identification of this nation is found in verse 7, the final verse of the chapter. At that time gifts will be brought to the Lord of hosts from a people tall and smooth, from a people feared near and far, the nation mighty and conquering, whose land the rivers divide, to Mount Zion, the place of the name of the Lord of hosts. Isaiah 18:7 RSV. After the events described in Isaiah 18 transpired, the people of this nation, presumably U.S. Christians and Jews, will be noted for the gifts they bring to the place of the name. This is, of course, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. One can assume these gifts are not designated for the Islamic structures that currently stand there, but for the rebuilding of the temple after the Dome of the Rock and all Aqsa mosques are obliterated. And what nation is better prepared, equipped, and motivated to send monetary gifts and supplies to Mount Zion for rebuilding the temple than the United States? Given this strong circumstantial case, we can conclude that no other nation, ancient or modern, fits the description as closely as the United States. But this prophecy is a message of disaster for that nation. The first word of the chapter is woe. A bit of irony is expressed here as well. While saying that this country sends messengers all over the world, Isaiah is telling them, go home, messengers, and give this message of disaster to the country itself. Go back quickly, O representatives, to a nation tall and smooth, to a people causing fear through all their history, a strong nation, crushing down its haters, whose land is cut through by rivers. Isaiah 18:2 BBE. So the messengers are to take a message to that country. But the next verses seem somewhat out of place at first. Perhaps they are there to give us some historical context of when this prophecy will be fulfilled. Whenever it is, globally important events will be taking place. All you people of the world, you who live on the earth, when a banner is raised on the mountains, you will see it, and when a trumpet sounds, you will hear it. Isaiah 18:3 NIV. We can surmise that the mountains are the mountains of Israel. The West Bank and the banner is an Israeli flag. The shofar is blown during battle. Therefore, it is likely whatever is happening to the nations described in this chapter is happening in conjunction with Israel retaking biblical Judea and Samaria back as their own possession, through a military operation. This would happen once the Palestinians are vanquished and that land becomes part of Israel formally. So, God is telling the world, when that happens, pay attention. The nation that is the primary subject of this chapter, presumably the United States, is at the forefront of the process to create the Palestinian state. We are assured by the prophetic scriptures that ancestral heartland of Israel, which is the object of contention today, will one day fully belong to Israel, in spite of the world's efforts to seize it. So verse 3 has a defiant tone to it, addressed at the entire world. that God's intentions for that land will be accomplished.